What's up, everyone? Happy freaking Halloween. My name is Sho, and because it's Halloween, I'm just going to do a short photo edit video for you. Today I'm going to be editing this photo of my little brother, and I'm going to turn it from a photo that looks like this into a photo that looks like this. I'm going to be working with Photoshop, so let's go ahead and get started. So now I've got the photo opened up. The first thing that we're going to do is we are going to duplicate the background by clicking Command J. On a Mac, we're going to go up to Filter and open up Camera Raw Filter. And the reason why I want to do this is we're actually going to go over to the Lens Corrections tab, and we're going to bring in those edges just a bit. Perfect. Now that's what it's going to look like, but we're going to fix that here in a second. We're going to go over to the selection tool, and we are going to click on the left side of the picture up through his hair just a bit. Right click, go down to Free Transform, and then right click again and hit Distort. And then we're just going to pull out those edges just a bit. And as you can see, like, what it does is it just pulls out the background just a hair so that we can have more to work with. It kind of corrects some of that distortion that happens sometimes with your lenses. Let's deselect. And let's do that again. We're going to just bring it to his hair. You don't want to go too far in, just because then you'll start distorting his face again. We're going to do the same thing, just bring up the top, hit that selection of that marquee tool, and then deselect. Do the same thing, go as close as you can to his face, free transform. Sorry, that was my phone. You're going to free transform again, distort, bring out that edge. One more time. Boom. And I'll show you the difference right now. So if I unselect layer 1, you'll see what it used to look like versus what it looks like now. Anyways. And then we are going to duplicate the background again. I do like to duplicate my backgrounds every once in a while, just so that if I do something that I don't like, I can always go back and start again without having to start all the way over. And then this one we are going to rename as Blemish. Perfect. And we're going to zoom in. As you can see, it was snowing, and so there's some snowflakes in his hair that we'll want to get rid of. Awesome, there's more than I thought there was, so that's freaking sweet. But we are going to go to the patch tool, and we are just going to start with a skin edit. If you haven't used it before, you can zoom in. You'll just select the part of the skin that you want to correct, and then you will drag it over to a part of the skin that you want to match it with. And we'll just do that to the whole face as well as the hair so that we can get rid of the snowflakes, because all it looks like is dandruff. Ew. But this part can take a little bit and can be pretty boring, so I'm just going to fast forward. Yeah, anyways, let's do this. Alright, so there you have it. Obviously I haven't taken away all the snowflakes that were in his hair, just because I'm going to see if after we do some color correction and things like that, it'll take it away. Sorry, that was my phone again. So anyways, yeah, I'll see if it's going to kind of help disguise those snowflakes. If I need to go and do some more blemish correction, then I'll do that as well. But let's see if that works. So if I take away the blemish layer, you'll see what it looked like before versus what it looks like now. So I didn't do too much. Actually, I do want to do one more thing right here. Yeah, so I didn't do too much because I still want it to look like him, obviously, but you can look in the hair and see that there was quite a bit of like big snowflakes in his hair, and so I took those away. But we are going to duplicate the layer again, and we are going to click on select color, go to reds. It was cold, so his nose is a little red, his skin is a little red, so I like to kind of take that away just a bit, bring it more towards the yellow on the cyan line. Same with magenta, bring it a little bit more towards the yellow, and call that good. Before, after. So it's just a little bit of correction on his skin. Next, we are going to go to the color balance. On the midtones, I like to bring it towards the red by 5 and bring it towards the yellow by 5 as well. So we'll put a -5 there, and it just kind of brings it towards the red and the yellow. And then I will click on the shadows and do the opposite. So on the shadows, I like it to make it a little cooler. So I'll put -5 there and then 5 towards the blue. And so you can see right here, if I take away the layer, what it looked like before, what it looks like after. And right there, it's already kind of helping out with the snowflakes in his hair. So that's a good sign. Next, we are going to add a gradient map. And I've got the shadows more towards like a brownish color and then leaving the highlights white. That looks ridiculous right now, but we are going to change the blending mode to soft light. Now it is still pretty strong, but we're going to bring it down to maybe like 50% around there. And then you can see when I take away the layer, what it looked like before and what it looks like now. I'm going to go ahead and group these because I'm an idiot and did forget one thing. So I'm going to group this layer. I'm going to hide it. Now with the blemish copy, I'm going to change it to skin. And then I will duplicate that as well. Yes, I will rename it as texture. Let's hide the texture layer for right now. Now with the skin layer, we're going to go up to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, if I'm even freaking saying that right, and you want to blur it to where you don't see any detail. So pretty much as soon as it looks ridiculous, yes, that's exactly how we want it. Click OK. And then let's bring back the texture. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to change the blending mode to a linear light. Go up to image, apply image, blending mode will be subtract. Oh yes, that looks great. And then we want to subtract it from the skin layer. And it should look exactly how it looked before. So obviously if we take away the texture layer, blurry, we bring back the texture that looks just like the picture did before. And the reason why we do this is because we will add a layer in between the texture and the skin. We're going to go to the paintbrush. Okay, we're going to bring down the flow to maybe like 25, the opacity to like 15. Whoa. And then one thing you want to make sure is, let's go to the eyedropper tool, and you want to change this. It'll usually be like point sample, but you want to change it to maybe 5 by 5. Go back to the brush tool. Now if you click Alt or Option, it'll bring up the eyedropper tool. You want to click a part of the skin that has the color that you want, and then you just want to paint just a bit. And what it'll do is it'll just kind of help even out the skin. And you want to take quite a few samples as well. You have it on a separate layer, which is nice because if you mess up, no probs, you can just redo it. And this is where you can do some correcting as well. So for example, I want to make this part that's in shadow just a little bit lighter so it blends a bit more. Awesome. That looks pretty good. I do want to make this less red. This obviously isn't, people will say this isn't the correct way how you color correct, but I'm going to do the same way because I can do whatever the frick I want. Okay, and then we will group all 3 of these layers together. We will rename this texture just for the heck of it. And then if I take it away, you can see that it's just a little bit of correction. Nothing too crazy, right? Just to kind of help even out the skin just a hair. And now we are going to duplicate, or I guess merge into a duplicate layer. And how you do that is you do Control, Option or Alt, Shift, E. And it'll merge all the visible layers. And what we're going to do with this new layer is we are going to call this high frequency, or whatever, we'll just call it frequency. We are going to change the blending mode to vivid because obviously that looks ridiculous, exactly how we like it. Come down to Other on the Filter tab, and then High Pass. And it's going to make it look pretty ridiculous right now as well. And then we will come over to Filter again, Blur, Gaussian Blur. And then we're going to bring this down to maybe like a 5 or 6. We'll go 4.6, why not? That looks kind of ridiculous, but you will click Command and I to invert it. And now you're like, wow, that looks really ridiculous. But no probs. We're going to bring that opacity down. Just, and then slightly go up until it gets to where we like it. I'm going to maybe stick it at 40% opacity. Now we are going to click on the masking tool, Command I on the mask to invert it, and then we're just going to paint in the areas that we want it, which is, we don't want to put it on any of like the strong details like his eyebrows, his eyes, mouth, stuff like that, but we want it on the majority of the skin. We're going to bring that brush tool back up to 100% opacity, 100% flow, perfect. And then we're just going to paint it. Oh yeah, I got to change the brush to white, seeing as how it's, you know, we inverted it, so it's now all black. So we want white to bring it back. And we're just going to paint in. And what it'll do is it'll really help smooth out the skin while keeping a lot of the detail. You don't want it to be too strong, otherwise that just looks freaking ridiculous. But boom, ooh, that's smooth looking. The things you do for your brother, am I right, guys? Perfect, so we've kind of got it where we want it. If you really want to get some of the smaller details right here above the lip, you can. Just make sure that you leave the fine detail, right? And then obviously the chin area as well. Perfect. And if I take away this layer, you can see before, after. So really what it does is it just helps even out the skin even more beyond painting. And now we're set. So let's unhide or bring back the color corrections that we have done, the grouped layers, and that is looking pretty solid. One more thing that we want to do is we want to go and add another adjustment layer. Solid color is what I like to do. Bring it all the way to the black. Click OK. Go over to the mask layer. You're going to widen the brush as big as you can. Perfect. About where his head's going to be, and just, oh yeah, we need to make this come back to black. And boom. And you just want to start racing that color fill around where he is. Perfect. I actually was off a little bit, so I'm going to bring it back right here. And then let's bring it back to black again. Just want to erase it around him. And that obviously looks ridiculous, but we're going to bring down the opacity all the way down and then start bringing it back up until it's where we like it to be. And what this does is it darkens the background so that it highlights him as the subject. I'm going to leave it at like 54%. I think that looks pretty good. We're going to create a new one. Gradient this time. Let's go with the black and clear. Click OK. And then where I think that we want to put this is on the left side. Maybe at this angle, so the left bottom corner. 45-degree angle. Click OK. You're going to click on the masked layer again. Go down to the gradient tool button. And on the masked layer, you can click and drag. And boom. It's not really where I want it to be. That's a lot better. And then again, we're going to bring down the opacity. And then bring it up to where we want it to be. 32% looks pretty good. We're going to add another adjustment layer. This time it's going to be levels. Here's a tip for you. Click the Option or the Alt button as you're dragging. And then you can, as soon as you start seeing where it's like black, that's when you want to like bring it back. You just want it to be to where there's no black. So right there. So 6 plus 6 on the black, and on the whites you can do the same thing. So you start seeing where it's going to start blowing out the whites or the highlights. So you bring it just outside there. And then this middle one just kind of helps. What this does, the levels just kind of brings up or down the contrast a bit. So I'm going to then bring it down because it's a little strong to maybe 1.11 in the middle section. And then I can show you what it looks like without that layer and with the layer. So it just kind of highlights him even more. We're going to do another adjustment layer, another gradient map. Again, we're going to do the same one that we chose before. I have it saved. You can save it so you don't have to go back and redo the coloring and stuff like that. Change that blending mode to soft light again. It's too blown out. We're going to bring it down. And this one's only going to be focused on the background. So we're going to erase it on him. So don't worry about him. Just look at the background until it gets to the strength that you want it to be. Perfect. And then click on the mask layer, go to the paintbrush, and we're just going to erase it on him. Just like so. If I hide that layer, just kind of makes it a little bit darker on the background, a little bit more contrasty, which I personally like. If you don't, oh well. And the very last thing we are going to do is we are going to add 2 more layers. They're going to be curve layers. Now yes, you can do the dodge and the burn, but this time I'm going to show you an alternate way that you can create the highlights and the shadows in the skin to make the skin pop. We are going to go with the highlights first. You bring it up pretty high because you can bring down the opacity later. We're going to bring down the opacity on the paint tool to like 25, and the flow is going to be, if I can get it, is going to be like 35. And let's invert that mask layer again, make the paint tool white. And because we got the opacity and the flow down, it's going to make it pretty soft. And you just want to brush the spots where you want to highlight the features just a bit. So like blending some of these shadows, making them a little bit brighter. Perfect. Now we will create, oh yeah, we'll create another curves layer, but this time we're going to bring down the shadows quite a bit. Let's wait for my computer to catch up to me. Invert that mask layer again, and we're gonna do the same thing, but this time on the shadows. So if we zoom out, let's hide the glow layers again. Without and with. Perfect. So now you know how to edit in Photoshop and make your photos go from normal to contrasty photos like this. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked this video, go ahead and give it a like. If you didn't like it, let me know as well. Comment if you think I'm just flat out of my mind. Subscribe, it really does help, and I will be posting more videos like this in the future. But until next time, peace out.